What up, fam? It's your boy, Boy 2024, streaming to you live, as always. Yeah, some housekeeping out of the way. So, in regards to the Sonic Blind Box video I did, if you were there, if you caught the stream live, awesome. There were some technical difficulties with the video, some corrupted data, some corrupted files. I'm having it looked at by my top men, my top tech guys looking at it. Hopefully it goes back up sometime soon. I really don't have an ETA on that. So that might be like another lost episode, like who knows. So I'll get back to you guys on that. But yeah, moving on. Let me address in I keep getting all these DMs, okay? All the DMs you guys are just sending me requesting that I do like an impression of Slenderman 2024. It's an impression of his voice. I know what this is. I know chat, I know you're setting me up for failure. You're setting me up to fail because you guys know how horrible I am at doing voices. I can't do voices, I can't do impressions. You know this, and yet you request that I do one of this other YouTuber. You know what he sounds like. He has a very dare I use the word iconic. He has a very iconic voice. You've seen his channel, you've seen his videos, you've even seen like videos that he's put on my channel when he's hacked my channel. So you know what he sounds like. He sounds so different from me. So I'm gonna do my best, but don't laugh, okay? So here goes. Oh, hey guys, it's me, Slenderman. You want to see me unbox a tote bag? Oh god, that was like that was like Disney's Goofy at the end. Oh no, that was terrible. I'm gonna delete this video. Yeah, no, forget about that. Forget about that. So anyway, let's get to the whole point here. I wasn't even gonna make a video on this, but yeah, there are more episodes of Secret Level, Amazon Prime's Secret Level, because they did part 1 and then they did the last part of season 1 in a part 2, and they released the last chunk of episodes. And I'm like, well, I should actually finish something that I started for once. I never finish anything that I start, and I do still feel bad about like the last video where like I did that little rug pull. I like pretended like, oh, I'm gonna review Arcane season 2, and then it's like, surprise, I'm doing Amazon Prime. I'm doing the other video game show that no one's talking about. So I do feel bad about that. So I apologize. I am like, that's on the agenda. I'm doing Arcane season 2 eventually, probably the next video after this one. But like I started reviewing Secret Level, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to just review half the season. I want to review the whole season. So there are more episodes. So let's go. We start out with a bang. We start out with in my opinion, a 10 out of 10 episode. It's on the Outer Worlds. I want to make sure I get this right. So real quick, there are two. I did some research on this. I did some research on a couple of these because that's the reason I'm doing a video. Is like at first I was like, oh, do I even have anything to say about like the last couple episodes? And then I watched them and I'm like, actually, and I did some more research and I'm like, actually, I have a lot to say. So yeah, I can definitely do a whole video on this. So yeah, let's begin. Outer Worlds. There's another game called The Outer Wilds. Don't get them confused. They're two similar games with very similar titles. Both came out around the same time in 2019. Wouldn't you? How about that? So The Outer Worlds got an episode in Secret Level, not The Outer Wilds. What's interesting to me is when I was researching this, I was on Reddit. I was on R Outer Wilds, okay, and a guy posted the whole thing, and he was like freaking out. He was so excited. He was just like, I don't think he was a troll. I think he was like genuinely confused because I was genuinely confused. He like fooled me. He was like, oh, guys, our show got announced. Like our game got announced. Like they're doing a Secret Level episode on the Outer Wilds, and like everyone was hyped up. Like, oh, that's awesome. And then somebody corrected him in the comments. They're like, yo, dude, no, it's the Outer Worlds, not Outer Wilds. They're not doing our game. They're doing the other one that sounds just like our game. And he's like, oh shit, really? And that got me confused because I was like, oh, so it's the Outer Wilds then? No, it's the Outer Worlds. Ugh. Okay, so don't get that confused. Yeah, Outer Worlds. They do the thing where, from what I understand, and like here's the thing is like they give you these bite-sized chunks, these little snippets of the game. Like when you have a game like an MMO or an RPG or whatever with a huge world and all these characters, like, I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't, you're doing like a 20-minute short. You can't possibly do that justice. You know what I mean? So they always do this thing where they're gonna focus. That's why I saw some people complaining, but I'm like, yo, you gotta understand the format, okay? What do you want? You want them to somehow adapt the storyline, the whole campaign, in a 20-minute segment? Like, that's insane. That's impossible. You know what I mean? So like they did the only thing they could do, which is they took these side characters, they took these minor characters, and they focused on them. And it was fine. Like, it was, again, I don't know anything about the game, The Outer Worlds, but like the characters they focused on, I thought it was great. Like I'd give this episode a 10 out of 10. So long story short, the main character is wonderful. This guy named Amos, Honest Amos. He has a whole thing. He's not like a robot or anything, but he's just a really stand up, like if it was D&D, he'd be a lawful good paladin, you know what I mean? He literally cannot tell a lie. He's just like true to a fault. And it's funny, it's played for laughs. Like it's funny because like he lives in this like total shithole world. He has like this total shithole, shit job, just cleaning up trash, but like he just has this like infectious, like positive outlook on everything. He's like, nothing can keep him down, man. And it's like a really cute love story because he like met this one girl, Felicity, and she left to become a scientist and left him behind, and he wants to be reunited with her, and he'll do anything to see her again, that type of thing. It's really nice. But yeah, Amos, he will, this is an example where it's played for laughs to great effect, but like he sees this poster that's like advertising how basically like, oh, do you want to like basically be a human guinea pig, like give your body over to Auntie Cleo to test her new drugs and stuff, and if you do, like, you'll go to this other planet and you'll meet the scientists such as Felicity. She's the head of like this project or whatever. And so he, like, in his excitement, he tears down the poster. He runs over to like the woman at the counter, and he's like, oh, I'd like to sign up for this job. And she's like, well, you obviously just like, destroyed company property by tearing down that poster, so like now you owe us like 750 bits. And he's like, oh, I only have 13 bits. And she's like, well, and she's like, well, if the wind blew it, she's like even trying to help him. Even at first, she's like seems pretty jaded. She like seems like she doesn't care, but then Amos is such a pitiable character. So she like tries to help him out. She's like, oh, well, if the wind blew it down, you could just say that, and then you're like picking up litter, and you're actually doing the company a favor. And he's like, no. He's honest to a fault. He's like, no. I tore it down in my excitement. And she's like, well, if you said it was the wind, then I wouldn't have to charge you. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And he's just like, no, I tore it down. So she's like, well, and he's like, I'll come back and I'll pay you to give me that job. She's like, so he has to take a detour and stock up on bits to, The only criticism I have, the animation is gorgeous. The only criticism, like, again, I don't know anything about the game, but like, I think some people were kind of saying, oh, it's like kind of like a knockoff of Fallout, and like, yeah, I see that. It does look a lot like Fallout, especially like the architecture, the signs, the design, the clothes. Amos even has like a thing on his arm. He has a Pip-Boy. He literally has like that wrist, PDA thing. He has a Pip-Boy. That's how he keeps track of like his bits and stuff. So yeah, there's that. That's like kind of a flaw in my opinion. But he goes through this whole thing, this whole like this whole saga to be reunited with Felicity. But you see this coming a mile away. I don't think it's a spoiler because this is like it's not going to be a happy ending type of thing. You know what I mean? Like these stories are never, they always have like a dark sci-fi twist, But Felicity, I mean, she's on the Sith path. She's on the Palpatine path to power. She wants to be the next Auntie Cleo, and she'll do anything to get there. And so when he meets her, she's not the same girl that he remembers, and it's very sad. It's very tragic. But it's good. It's really well done. Like, again, like, I love Amos as a character. I don't even know if he's in the game or Felicity for that matter, but like, it's a great episode. It's a really good episode. Another small moment I liked is the doctor who's like administering the drugs and stuff, Dr. Langstrom or something, but like she seems like kind of a bitch at first. Like, she's very jaded, and much like that other secretary that kind of warmed up to Amos, she can't help but like, oh, he's actually not so, like, she later on she even kind of helps him out. Sure, she's even like kind of praises him, like, she's like, oh, I'm sorry Amos, the program's over, but for what it's worth, like, you really were my best you were my favorite test subject. You were perfect. Like, you were such a great test subject. It's just like a small moment where she just like shows a little bit of humanity where you weren't expecting it, and it was nice to see the effect that Amos has on people. Again, you get so much out of this like little 20-minute short. It's phenomenal. This series is phenomenal, and it's a kind of a crime that people aren't talking about it as much as they are. No shade to Arcane. I'm sure Arcane is awesome. I'm gonna explore that soon. But seriously, Secret Level it deserves to be talked about as much as Arcane. That's all I'm gonna say. I've dwelled too much on Outer Worlds. We got a few more to get through. So like, let me kind of keep the ball rolling. So the next episode, another hitter, Mega Man. Yeah, they like the choices of games are wild for this thing. Like, you really, I mean, remember in part 1 they had freaking Pac-Man. So you never know what you're gonna get. The Mega Man episode, Yeah, this one was, it was shorter than I would like. It was like, I would say less than 10 minutes. It was very well done. The animation was gorgeous. It's basically just an origin story of how Rock, Dr. Light's android helper, like he wants to be more. He wants to help fight Dr. Wily's evil creations, and so by the end of the episode, he becomes Mega Man, and while he's suiting up, they play like an orchestral, like sweeping version of like the Mega Man 2 theme song, like, which is by far the best Mega Man piece of music in that series. I mean, it's the one they used in that epic Smash Brothers reveal trailer where Mega Man shows up. Like, you know the tune. It's epic. So the music was at a 10. And at the very end of the episode, when he suits up, he like teleports in on top of this skyscraper. It's an exact recreation of the Mega Man 2 title screen. Like, it's great. I'm gonna go down to a 9 because it's still great. It's a 9. It's still great, but it was shorter than I would like, and it kind of cuts off too early, in my opinion. Like, it really just feels like we were just getting started, and then it just kind of abruptly cuts. I didn't really like that, but other than that, I loved it. I hope there's more. I hope if there's like a season 2 of Secret Level, they'll do more Mega Man stuff. But like, we'll get to that after I go through all the episodes. I'm gonna go through like predictions and like a wish list and stuff of what I want for season 2. Because again, I have way more to say than I thought I would about this. This show is amazing. Like, this is like seriously one of my favorite things I've watched recently. Okay, episode 3 of part 2. It was on the game Exodus. The game Exodus. Okay. So, if you don't know much about Exodus, like me, and had to research it like me, don't blame yourself, because, the game's not even freaking out yet. In fact, we don't even have a freaking release date yet. So this is a weird show where, yeah, in theory, they are, like, doing nostalgic send-ups of classic games, such as Mega Man. They are also advertising games that haven't come out yet, such as Exodus. And once we get to it, we'll talk about Concord. They also advertise games that are already offline, already taken down forever. So that's weird to advertise something that you can't play anymore. But okay, focus. We'll get to Concord. Exodus. Okay, that is the game. And I encourage you to look this up. Watch the Game Awards 2023 reveal where Matthew McConaughey comes on stage. Yeah, it's the sci-fi game with Matthew McConaughey. That'll help you with your Google search a lot more than just typing Exodus. Yeah, he's one of my favorite actors. He's cool as hell. So like, it's so cool to see him in a video game finally. But he's not in this short. That's where I'm like, I gave this episode a 9. What would have made it a 10 is if McConaughey was in it, because he's in the freaking game. It's like, come on, like, couldn't you get him to voice his character for this short? Like, that would have really helped this short blow up. You know what I mean? To my knowledge, there's like no famous like voice actors or actors in this short. So could have been a little better, but I still really liked it a lot. I still don't know like who McConaughey plays even in the game. Like, he was very vague even in that interview. Like, watch that little reveal. All he says is like, he's like, oh yeah, like, I can't say much, but like, my character has like a very special relationship with the player. And like, that's it. That's all he says. I'm like, okay, I'm very curious what that means, but I don't know what that means. But yeah, long story short, Exodus, at least I don't know what the game is about per se, but like, the short was very interesting. Long story short, there's like a dad and a daughter, and they repair ships and stuff, and like, it's a whole thing where she goes off on an adventure. Like, she stows away with another guy on another ship, and dad's like, oh, I gotta track her down. Here's where it gets complicated, because he goes on this like incredible odyssey where, so we have this concept in sci-fi, in hard sci-fi. Like, I've seen this before in Ender's Game, that series, in like the Gunbuster anime, they go into this. Also in the Matthew McConaughey movie Interstellar. Okay, it's also similar. So I feel like that's why he was chosen for this game. But you have this idea of space travel where when you're traveling near the speed of light, right, time will actually kind of slow down. So like, for you, and they go into this in the short, for you, like, what might be a year. So for like the dad, a year has passed, right? But anyone outside of that spaceship, time has sped up so much. So like 10 or 15 years have passed for his daughter in the time that he has aged a year. So not only is he trying to catch up to her, physically, like, he's trying to catch up to her and trying to find her, but he also has that time limit as well, where like, the longer he takes, she's gonna, get so old that she's gonna be as old as him or older, or he might even be too late. You know what I mean? It's a really fascinating concept. Again, I've only seen it dealt with a handful of times in sci-fi, but I always find it interesting when they do. So yeah, that's a great episode too. And then next we have Possibly my favorite episode, the Spelunky episode. Okay, the Spelunky episode was so good. That's an indie. I'm biased. I'm favor indie games. You guys know this. So Spelunky's one that's been on my backlog for a while, and I watched this episode. And guess what? I hopped on the PlayStation Store and I bought it. Like, I haven't quite delved into it just yet, but I'm going to. Like, Spelunky is like a classic indie roguelike where, like, it's like an Indiana Jones type of thing. You go on these runs where you're platforming. So again, it's right up my alley. You're platforming. You're going through this, like, Indiana Jones style level where, like, traps are killing you and you respawn and you restart, like, start a new run. It's a very infamously difficult game, and the short, the short goes into that. The short, it's actually from what I understand, the main character is Anna Spelunky in the short, and that's the main character of Spelunky 2, the game. And Anna is played by Ariana Greenblatt, the actress she was in Barbie, and then more recently she played Tiny Tina in Borderlands. So another video game connection, and she's good. She does a great job as the Spelunky girl, and it's got a really that's what I was gonna say is this short has a beautiful animation style. Like, it's like that 2D 3D combination, like the Arcane style. Like, it looks like an episode of Arcane. That's the best thing I can say about it. I wish all of the I love that art style. I wish all of the secret level episodes looked like that. But maybe it was a budgetary thing that can only afford to do it for, like, this 1 8-minute short. That's the other thing, is, like, it is a little short, but for this format it kind of worked. It didn't feel like it cut off too early per se, like it did with, like, the Mega Man short, but it was short. It was like less than 10 minutes. But yeah, it goes into how, like, it's actually much more deep, and it's more philosophical and deep than I expected, because Anna keeps dying and respawning, and her mom is, like, the veteran, and she's talking to her about, like, well, it's okay, like, I'll just try again. I'm just going for that perfect run. Like, it's not a big deal, because the mom actually makes little tallies on the wall of each time she died, and the other girl, Anna's like, well, what's the point? It's like whatever, well, because she's like, Anna, you still died. Like, it's still a life that you lost. Like, it needs to have meaning, And that's where the show got a little deeper than I expected. It's like, when you live in a world or you're in a game where you just constantly die and respawn, it's not a big deal. You can just respawn. You can just start another run. How do you make a life meaning? You know what I mean? Like, how do you make it so that life had meaning or value when you can just restart easily? You know what I mean? Like, how does life have meaning in that context? So yeah, no, way deeper than I expected. Again, that's a 10. That got way deeper than I expected. Okay, Concord, let's go. Concord. Oh my God, Concord. We got to talk about Concord. People in the chat are saying I should do a PS5 Chronicles on Concord. Well, here's the thing, chat. Concord cannot be played, so I don't know. I can't play it. I see that people are selling physical. There was a physical box, a physical disc for the PS5 that people are reselling on eBay for, like, buco bucks, and I'm like, I guess at this point it's a collector's item. But yeah, if you don't know, Concord was a super generic hero shooter. It came out, it didn't do anything special. Sony put a lot of money into it. I read something like they lost like $200 million or more, because this game bombed so horribly. It had, like, I was watching this one video. Apparently, it's like top player base on Steam, top concurrent player base. It was like 697 players at once on Steam. That's bad. That's really bad for, like, such a big hero shooter. Like, imagine if, like, Overwatch did those numbers. You know what I mean? It's like, and it was competing with games like Overwatch or I don't think Marvel Rivals was out yet, but yeah, it would have if it hadn't already died immediately, it would have been killed by Marvel Rivals. So, like, there you go. But yeah, it's just the game. It was just so freaking generic. I mean, the title Concord, it had, like, a lame title. All the characters looked lame. Like, the gameplay looked lame. Like, it just didn't stand out. There was too much competition. You know what I mean? But yeah, it did so poorly in its early weeks that Sony pulled. This was also, like, a record-setting thing. Like, Sony pulled the plug, like, 2 weeks in or something. Like, people didn't even really have time to play it. They didn't even have time to, like, establish a fan base. So, there you go, dead in the water. But yeah, like, Sony was, like, going all in on Concord. They wanted, like, a piece of that hero shooter game. So, like, they invested buco bucks. They had the secret level guys. They're like, yo, make an episode about Concord. It's gonna be the next big thing. And the episode was made. It's like, so it's one of those things. There was discussion of like, are they gonna still air the episode because Concord's dead? Like, what, you're literally advertising a game that can no longer be played, that was already canceled and shut down. But they put a lot of work into it. They made the episode, so they're like, well, we're gonna air it, and I'm glad they did. Here's where I'm at. I'm giving the episode a 7. It's fine. It's fine. Like people definitely came in ready to hate on this episode because Concord sucked. And all I can say is, like, don't go into those preconceptions. Like, don't associate like that. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not fair. Like you just gotta watch the episode with blind eyes. Like, don't bring your hate from the game over into this, because it's really not a bad episode. It's not the best episode. It's not great. Like I said, I'm giving it a 7, not a 10. But it's fun. I say, give it a watch. It's fun. Like, again, yes, the characters are kind of generic. Yes, they kind of are a ripoff of Guardians of the Galaxy. But there's some cool action. I like the soundtrack. There's like a music track that plays that really reminded me of Tron Legacy. So yeah, I mean, it's got, and the visuals, my God, like, because there's like this cosmic storm cloud, like this pink cosmic storm cloud they have to like drive around, and like they show it in its full glory, and like they spent money on this animation. Like my God, like there are some beautiful scenes in this short. I'm not even kidding. And another reason why I can't give this too low of a score, my favorite voice actress of all time from anime, Miss Laura Bailey. Okay, the legendary Laura Bailey. She was announced to be like in this show. It was like, at first it was like undisclosed. She was like, I'm gonna be in season 1, but they wouldn't say like what she was in. I'm watching the episode and I freaking hear her voice. Of course, she shows up for the fucking Concord episode. Like, so yeah, I mean, she's not like a super important or cool character, but like, she's in it. Like, I got to hear Laura Bailey's voice again, so I'm not giving it too low of a score. Like I said, like there's things I liked. There's things I liked in this episode. Just give it. All I say is give it a shot. It's not gonna be your favorite, but give it a shot. It's fun. Moving on. Another 7 out of 10 I'm giving to Honor of Kings. Honor of Kings. Okay, again, the game selection is so weird. So, Honor of Kings, I had to look up, and this is a case where I actually downloaded and tried the game for myself. It's okay. It's a mobile game. It's what you call a MOBA, M-O-B-A. It's one of those mobile games that's kind of like, well, kind of like League of Legends or Dota 2. I know that's a big MOBA. I don't play these games. I know next to nothing about these games. I haven't even played League of Legends. So, but I gave Honor of Kings a shot. It's average from what I could tell. Like, it was okay. I played it a little bit, then I uninstalled it. It was fun. This isn't my type of game to begin with. Graphics were fine, gameplay was fine, characters were cool, but it's just not my thing. But yeah, it's one of those. And Honor of Kings, they do an episode on it. Stay with me here. I'm gonna connect this honestly, it almost reminded me of Yu-Gi-Oh for a second. So what I mean by that is, in Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, like let's look at Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds. They introduced this like interesting sci-fi world with like a caste system. There's like these hyper, these are like super interesting, like high-tech dual runner, like these motorcycles that everyone rides. Like the cops have them, but the main characters have them too. They look like the bikes from Akira. And like there's all this like setup, right? It's also interesting. And then at the end of the day, they're like, well, now we're gonna play a card game. And it's like, oh, okay, all this setup for this, there's like spiritual stuff, like there's like spirits and crap and like mythology and crap. No, we're just gonna play a card game at the end of the day. That's kind of how Honor of Kings. They introduced this whole thing. There's like this fantasy setting. There's like this AI computer god thing that runs the city, and like the buildings are like chess pieces to him, and he controls everything. And this one guy wants to challenge him for supremacy and control of the city. Like, it's all interesting stuff. It's all this like epic buildup. And then at the end of the day, they sit around this tiny little Go board and they play a game of Go. Are you kidding me? Like, it was like a wet fart, man. Like, I was like, oh, all this setup, and then they just play a little board game. Okay, well. It was still cool. It was still cool. The graphics, the animation was superb. They go into this whole thing of like what's the term, like predestination, predetermined fate, like, because the computer's like, I've seen everything. I've seen the future. I know everything you're gonna do before you do it. He does a cool thing where he holds up this mirror that's like it's like a window 1 second into the future. So he proves that like he knows every single move the main character is about to make. So how do you win in a situation like that? It goes into that. It's interesting. I enjoyed it. It just, the game itself I had no interest in, and then the short, it didn't really leave too much of a lasting impact. It was, again, like Concord, it was fine. So I'm giving it a 7. It was fine. You won't hate it. You'll enjoy it. And then the last episode, I take it back. I think the last episode was my favorite. It's a 10 out of 10 because they did something different for this. So the last episode is called Playtime. It does not adapt a single game. This one is more of like a Sony PlayStation send-up. Okay, and that's what I wish all of these episodes were something kind of like that. Like, I wish we had like a Capcom send-up or a Nintendo send-up or like a Sega game send-up episode. You know what I mean? Like, again, more ideas for season 2. But yeah, this was really freaking cool. So long story short, there's a girl. She's like a courier in like a futuristic world. She has like a high-tech bike, and she's like, delivering. She's basically like a futuristic DoorDasher. Okay, she's delivering packages for points, and it's like a kind of a commentary on like what gaming has become, like the modern grind of like, grinding these like little points. She's getting like these little bits or points so that she can eventually upgrade her bike, and she makes enough deliveries, she gets enough gems. I think they literally say that like in a mobile game, like you got enough gems to upgrade your bike. And then it's very funny. It's like, oh, well, now you don't have an orange bike, you have a new skin, you have a burnt orange bike, it's like but the main girl, she's played by Heaven Hart, and if that name sounds familiar, the buddy robot companion she has is played by comedian Kevin Hart. So his daughter Heaven Hart plays the girl, and he plays her robot companion. It's adorable. They have like great chemistry. I loved it. I loved it. It was a little too short. Again, I wish it had been over 20 minutes, but it was like under 20 minutes. I loved it though. So like she's doing her thing, and she gets like this package from a mysterious package that she needs to deliver, and now she's being pursued by agents. Like, imagine like Neo being pursued by Agent Smith. Well, now all of the characters with like, the soldier characters from Helldivers, I think they are literally called Helldivers, I think. But yeah, they show up to hunt her down with their plasma rifles and shit, and their capes are flowing, and they look really badass. They look really cool. So that's like the first PlayStation cameo. I think I do have to do like a PS5 Chronicles on Helldivers 2. That's the one that blew up, I think, Helldivers 2 on PS5. So like that that looks really cool. I need to do that at some point. But there's some cameos. I jotted this down. So in total, we had Helldivers 2, Shadow of the Colossus has a cameo, Little Big Planet. You see Sackboy. You do. I loved it. You see Kratos from God of War Ragnarok. He has the ice axe from Ragnarok. You see the character from Journey, and you see Ghost of Tsushima. So they packed a lot into that short. I loved it. Yeah, so that's a 10 out of 10. I wish to see more like that, of that format. Moving on. So before I conclude, I just wanted to kind of talk about predictions for season 2 of Secret Level. Actually, before I do that, let me go into, again, I was doing some more research, and it just kept on getting more and more fascinating. So let me finish this. Let me add this as well at the finale. There were some canceled episodes. There were some ideas basically that the creators had that got canceled. They had these great ideas for some episodes, and the problem was they go to these companies, and some companies just don't want to play ball. That's the thing. So it's not like, for example, Half-Life. They wanted to do a Half-Life episode. How freaking cool would that have been? But they went to Valve, and Valve said no. Supposedly Valve said no to a Half-Life episode. So that was that. We're definitely not getting that in season 2. But that would have been cool. The theory I read was that basically Valve, they're in a weird state where people were they were harassing them about Half-Life 3. And they just, for whatever reason, they don't want to make it. And so their concern was, if they make a Half-Life episode of Secret Level, then it will generate renewed interest. I mean, you would think that they would want that. Because renewed interest means people are rebuying your games on Steam, right? Like, but they don't want that, because then people are going to start harassing them about Half-Life 3 again. So that's the rumor, at least, of why we can't have that episode, which probably would have been cool. The coolest thing, which we were denied, and that's why I am pissed off at Microsoft. I'm so pissed off at Microsoft. I'm kind of more of a Team Sony guy at this point. So like you just saw, like Sony played ball. Sony totally played ball. They said, oh yeah, you can do a Sony send up. Like, here's all these characters. Here's all these fucking characters. Like, have fun. Microsoft is the opposite. Microsoft said, fuck you. They went to Microsoft and they said, we want to do not just a Halo episode, because that would be obvious. No, we want to do a crossover episode with Halo, with Master Chief teams up with Doom guy from Doom. Oh my god, every gamer just shit their pants when they heard that. Like, oh my god, that would have been epic. And Microsoft fucking owns Doom at this point. Like, they own both properties, so there would not have been that much red tape to get around. They just had to say yes. Microsoft just had to say yes, and for whatever reason, they said no. We don't like money. No, we don't want to make Halo and Doom more relevant again. No. So there you go. So we can't have nice things. That's why we won't have that in season 2. What I would like to see in season 2 here, I jotted down some more ideas here. Basically, because what gave me the idea was the Spelunky episode where I'm like, oh, so indie games. Yeah, I feel like indie game. I mean, shit. Like indie game developers, they want the word spread out on their game, right? In theory, it's like they should be way more willing to play ball than say Microsoft. So like, I just had all of these ideas of like an indie game in that same art style of as the Celeste episode. I mean, as the Spelunky episode. So my first idea was, there's an indie game called Celeste where you're climbing a mountain. You're like this girl that's climbing a mountain, and it's story driven. And like, I could easily see an episode done in that same art style as Spelunky. It's a similar game. That's like a no-brainer. I hope they do Celeste. Just jotting down some of my favorite indies or some of the biggest indies. Super Meat Boy, do an episode on that. Could be more comedic, whatever. Do it in that that art style that you see in the cutscenes, like that Flash animation art style. It's a no-brainer. Like that would print money. Fez, one of my favorite games. Do a Fez episode. Braid, Binding of Isaac, Hollow Knight, Shovel Knight. That would be pretty obvious too. Blasphemous. Oh man, that would be killer. If you did a Blasphemous episode, like in that arcane art style, I could see that blowing up. Animal Well. Okay, this is a game. Yeah, if you want to get like right on the cusp of something that's about to blow up, and like the opposite you did with Concord, where you're like, oh, well, Concord's about to blow up. We're gonna do an episode on Concord, like, and you were completely wrong. You should have used that money. You should have taken that episode slot and done it on. There's an indie game called Animal Well. This like indie Metroidvania that completely blew up last year. If you did an episode on that, get even more attention to that indie game, that would be so cool. That's just an idea. If you want to be like on the cusp of something that's like blowing up. And then the last two ideas, definitely do these. Like this is like a no-brainer. If you can get the rights, and again, I feel like the indie developers would be more than happy to get the word out on their games. Hades and Undertale. Both of these games have a rabid fan base. Both of these are like some of the most popular indie games of all time. Hades and Undertale. They have a rabid fan base. If you make an episode on these games, the fans will show up. Jesus Christ, they are frothing at the mouth for content, especially the Undertale fans. They will do anything. They'll do anything for Undertale content. More Undertale content, like they'll watch your whole show. They'll watch everything if you have an Undertale episode. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a no-brainer. So there you go. Here's some free ideas, Amazon Prime. They've already announced season 2, so like we'll see what games they do. I'm very, very curious. But yeah, we know now what definitely will never happen or won't happen in season 2. We're not getting the Halo episode. We're not getting the Doom episode. We're not getting the Half-Life episode. So yeah, that sucks. But there's so many other games out there they could adapt, and I can't wait to see what they choose.